All right, we're out on Lake of the Woods. We're switching things up today. As you can see, I got no live scope on the kayak, no HD shuttle. We're going au naturel. I love electronics as much as anybody, but I know not everybody has that on their kayak, on their boat. So today I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how to find and catch fish without electronics. Here we go. All right, we're gonna start fishing a main lake hump. Comes up to about 14 feet here. And while I said no electronics, I think something everybody should have on their boat, I guess on their phone, is mapping, right? There's a lot of mapping available. I got the Active Captain app, which is the Garmin app. They own Navionics now as well, so they've got mapping all across Canada and North America. So you can pay for a subscription. So even if you don't have, a big graph and live scope, you should have mapping. There's no excuse not to have some sort of mapping where you're at, even if it's just a Google map image, because that will give you some information. In this case, we've got kind of an extended point behind us and we're fishing a hump that sticks up to 14 feet. So I've got no graph. I don't know if there's fish on here. The wind's blowing onto it. Based on this time of year, I think there should be some walleyes on it, but we're gonna kind of, check as we go. We'll spend 5-10 minutes here. For the start, I'm gonna do something a little more active, maybe a little swim bait or a Ned rig. I'll probably throw an Instructo bug and try to cover across the hump. If we start catching fish, then I might slow it down and drop shot with a leech or something. But right now it's just trying to get that initial vibe if there's fish in the area. Because in the past I would be obviously, motoring around until I'm marking fish. So in this case, it's a little more guess and check. I am keeping my phone open by my feet with the mapping so then I can kind of see, what's going on in front of me here. But right now we're gonna kind of slide on to the top of the hump. All right, so another thing you can do in a situation like this is drift to cover a bigger spot. So I can kind of start at the top of the reef based on my mapping, make sure I'm hitting bottom. I kind of like drag that Ned over the reef, let the wind blow me on top, and that's where I'm covering a bigger area, right? With my electronics and spot lock and everything, I'm so used to it being very precise. Every cast is calculated, but now you're trying to cover more of a general area. So I just want to make sure my bait's on the bottom. I'm just gonna hop, let it hit bottom, hop a couple times, and we'll just let the wind take us. Another thing is, without electronics, trolling is a really good option too. I don't troll as much since I put, live scope on my boat, but before live scope, it's a great way to cover fish when they're scattered. The Ned is good. I probably favorite a little more on the shallower stuff, but we're gonna do a jig and wrap. Another great option to get a quick reaction bite. And 4 walleyes is the goal, because that is a limit on Lake of the Woods. We'll see if we can make that happen. We're kind of on the tip of the reef here. I'm gonna cast it. And with a bait like this, it's so heavy, it's really easy to tell how deep we're fishing. Like, I don't know for sure, I would guess. Should be in around 15 or 20. I can feel with the bait that we're on a hard bottom here, so I know I'm on the reef, that it's rocky. I would assume that it's mud or sand kind of off the edge of it. So I'm just letting it tick bottom, and I'm just popping it up. It's really easy to find bottom with a jig and wrap. I'm gonna give this hump, 10 to 15 minutes. If things aren't happening, we'll move on. There's no reason to stay longer here. It's like, I kind of want to zigzag across it, try to hit the top, try to hit off the edges. We're sliding. I can tell with how, how I'm moving every time I'm reeling up the line a couple cranks. I can tell we're sliding shallower onto the top of this reef. So like I said, I'm just going to keep drifting, cracking that jig and wrap. Another thing you can do if you don't have a graph, once you start catching fish, is throwing out a marker buoy. It's old school, but it's a good way to just use that, visual representation of where the fish are. Obviously you can leave waypoints on your phone too, but putting a marker buoy, it's just such an easy way to stay on the spot. Oh, that was a fish. Well, there we go. What do we got? We got our first walleye. If I was hungry, I would certainly flay that guy up. That is one towards our limit. The camera boys, Hayden, Brandon, Karsten, they got some side bets going on if I can actually catch a limit of walleyes without electronics. Because people like to chirp me in the comments saying I can't catch fish without electronics, but the goal today is to change their minds. All right, we got one. That was a couple bites kind of along the top of the reef. So that kind of gives me a little clue that they are gonna be on the top of the reefs. That's based off of, what the mapping on my phone is telling me. We'll give another cast or two and then, actually, we'll try drifting some bait right now. That's a good sign. So I'm guessing that fish was in, 12 feet of water. Option number 2 that I really like is drop shot and a leech, but this isn't as good for searching. If you don't know where the fish are, it's definitely not gonna be as efficient. So I'm assuming that there's gonna be more fish on top of this reef. So that's why I'm switching to this, and then we can work it a little bit slower and drift over the top. All right, We're dropping down. The nice thing about a drop shot is that weight, you can have a heavy weight falls to the bottom and you just hold it there and it doesn't matter. You don't need to know how deep it is because that weight's gonna hit the bottom and your hook's gonna be, you know, however you set it. So in this case, a foot off the bottom. If I were to guess, I'm just gonna reel up right now. There's the bottom. I would say we are in probably 13, 14 feet of water. The rod's 7'1". Medium light to Tula. This is the new one called the Universal Light. Is that a fish? Oh, I had another one. Are we gonna just limit out on the first spot? First little hump. There we go. That's a little better. All right, number 2. Like small eater size, but hey, this would feed me. Number 2. The camera guys didn't tell me what they're betting on. I think Hayden said I was gonna catch less than 5 walleyes, so he's probably sweating by now that I got 2. I get it. The drop shot is just beautiful in the fact that I know that that bait is gonna be out of the rocks. As a guide, drop shots are just one of my favorite things for guests. It definitely changes your time management with electronics versus not having electronics. There are times where, you know, I've had my live scope down, I'm seeing walleyes that I think are, you know, 25-inch walleyes swimming around, and I might spend hours trying to catch them only to find out they're suckers. And there's other times where I spend hours trying to catch them and they turn out to be 25 to 30-inch walleyes. So it's just a very different mindset now. Like, I've caught 2 small ones. Does that mean they're all small down here? I don't know. There definitely is more of that mystery feel when you're not using electronics. I'll be honest, I mean, I miss my live scope right now, but we're catching fish. We are catching fish, and I think we'll get bit again very soon. Oh, was that a bite? No. I can just feel that drop shell weight dragging through some rubble, and that leech is just swimming a foot above. Eat me! Today we're fishing the Old Town Sportsman Pro, the 120 pedal version, 12-footer. You can feel it's getting deeper again as we slide off, I think, the backside of this reef. It's amazing how much you can feel these days with braided line and a sensitive rod. You can just tell what the bottom is. So right now I can tell them on rock. Certain times of year, you know, the fish like to be at the mud, the bottom of the rock to mud transition at the bottom of the reef. Right now, from what I've seen recently, more so the fish are on rocks, so. Oh, there we go. Oh. Okay, this is the spot right here. Felt the bite. There we go, that's a better walleye. Oh yeah. This is very close to where those other ones bit. Net worthy. I wasn't ready to give up on this reef yet. There we go. Hey, I just kept drifting over the reef, and this is very close to where those other 2 bit. Not big by any means, but compared to the other 2 is a lot bigger. Well, they are getting bigger. This one is about twice the size, but still like maybe 16-incher, something like that. But hey, it's a walleye. Well, if the next one's twice the size, then we'll be laughing. But yeah, it just took a long time. Once again, it's time management, and I knew there was fish. I knew there was a specific spot because I do think, I mean, I wasn't laying waypoints on my phone or anything, but I do think that all those fish kind of came in a similar area. And I think they're kind of on the back side of this hump. So we're gonna spend a little bit longer here. There are some other spots that I want to look at that look fishy on the map. Yeah, the drop shot. It is my confidence. One of my top confidence baits for walleyes. Using a size 6 BKK. I don't need electronics to know that my bait is going to be, you know, 18 inches off the bottom, which is pretty good strike zone for walleyes. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Rock and roll, shake and bake. Back in the game. The boys over there said it couldn't be done. They said you will not be able to catch a limit of walleyes without electronics. We are 1 away. I give all the guys a hard time, so it's only fair that they smack talk me back. Mission complete. There wasn't too much struggle considering we did it on the first spot, but that is Lake of the Woods limit of walleyes. I mean, if you count that towards the limit, look how short and fat that walleye is. When he's 30 inches, he's gonna be a chonk. Look at that thing. I've never been so happy about an 11-inch walleye. There we go. Okay, we're gonna roll. We're rolling out, we're moving. We got our limit off that spot. She was good to us. This is for you, Sam. This is for my children, Hannon's children. Oh, how's my face? Oh, it feels greasy. Oh, I hate the spray on stuff. Why did I do that? Guys, I've already caught 4. It's gonna be over 5. All right, we're rolling up to hump number 2. Once again, I got my Active Captain app open. Whether you decide to pay for a subscription or you just use some sort of mapping app to save waypoints, it is gonna come in so handy. So much of a fishing trip starts before you get to the lake. And with how it's so easy to get mapping online and resources and stuff, like I'm always looking at maps, Google Maps, my Active Captain app before the trip, picking out spots I wanna fish so I have like an idea, a milk run in my mind where I wanna fish before the day even starts. And it saves you time. Otherwise, there are times where I don't prepare that same way and I'm all of a sudden spending 10 minutes in the boat just scrolling around trying to figure out where that next hump is or where that next piece of shoreline is I wanna fish, so. Oof. I'm moving on. We're gonna try a little shallow action for a bit. Oh, I love the shade. So in this case, I'm looking for some, extended flats that stick out, which is kind of that orange color. If you find all the walleyes in 20 feet of water, you can highlight that specific range, let's say 20, 25 feet orange. And then everywhere on the map, it will highlight that zone orange so you can look at it very quickly. And once you put together a pattern, it can help you finding similar spots. But in this case, the shoreline's pretty steep. And then there's a little stick out here you can see on the map. It's a little more gradual and there's a bit of a bay around the corner here. So we're gonna just cast. Sometimes these walleyes get shallow right in the boulders, like bass almost. So very decent chance we hook a bass or two, but I'm thinking there might be a shallow walleye, and they are honestly more fun to catch when they're up shallow like this. There we go. That is a big old bass. Not what we're looking for, but we'll take him. Coming under the boat. It's gonna be a netter. Smaller than I thought. He just spit out a crayfish. All right, there we go on the indestructible bug. It was just that stretch of shoreline that looked a little bit different, and it had a micro smallmouth. Look at that. That's why you come here. Lake of the Woods, baby. So just looking at the shoreline, another thing, this you could do without even, having any mapping on your phone. You can see rock face, boulder, 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 and all of a sudden you've got these reeds, these cattails coming out here too. Just visually, you can tell that, hey, something's different. So those transition zones often hold fish, even if I didn't have the mapping. Now I look at the mapping, I can tell there's a gradual shoreline coming out. So this shelf, holds bass, obviously. Could hold walleyes. It looks really fishy right here. But that was the first cast shallow. And I don't even know if the bait hit the bottom once. Not a walleye. That was right under the nose of the kayak. Once again, I just saw a boulder, saw a deep spot beside it, and that was just visually polarized shades. When you get in shallow, you can kind of get those visual clues. That's a fish. Whoa, whoa! That was quite the jump. There's so many bass in Lake of the Woods. What do we got? We have another bass right on that same edge. You're not a walleye. That's okay. So there's that deep transition that I was talking about where I got that other bass or two. And I'm kind of just hovering out on that now. I can kind of visualize where that line is. And it will be snaggy on some of these rocks. That is a part of it. What do we got? It's cutting like a bass. His shoreline is just loaded with smallies. Okay, here you go. We'll give a couple more casts here and we'll probably move on. Whoa! That was pretty good. All right, a lot of 2-pounders today. huge. What was the over-under on how many fish I was catching? No, you said fish. I don't think you ever said walleyes. Fish. Ooh, that's a nicer bass. Keep them down. Whoa! So many bass. Endless. They're all spitting up crayfish. I think that's why they're liking the indestructible bug. Look at all that red stuff he's puking up. That is some fresh crayfish. You guys are lucky that bass aren't counted. I think this breeze blowing on the shoreline's stacking up fish too. I'm thinking there's gotta be walleyes in here. But it's like every other cast, I'm getting a bass. Last cast, and then we're gonna go check a new hump. The shoreline was absolutely loaded with smallmouth. I'm not complaining. I'm gonna pull my phone out, look at the mapping. And even if you don't wanna pay for a subscription on your phone, there's paper maps. Get a map for 20 bucks. It won't, triangulate it for you with the GPS the same way, but you can still line things up and get into the ballpark of some of these reefs. But I would say for the price of a tank of gas is to get your Navionics subscription, and then you have mapping for your whole region for the year. So I think we'll do the net again. We'll probably end up catching 14 bass. We'll kind of see what's going on and then decide if we want to drop shot with a leech, or who knows, if we can find that sweet spot. All right, so now there's a guy following me in a life jacket with an underwater housing. I don't know what he's doing. This point beside us here is where I got that bass, right near shore. So I'm thinking typically the bass are gonna be a touch shallower, so I'm hoping there's some walleyes a little further out based on a little stick out I saw in the mapping. There's a fish. All right, this is the point over here. Oh, that was a fish. Oh, swing and a miss. You're so weird. There we go. It's shallow. Ooh, it feels big. Ooh, it feels big. I think it's a bass. It's turning the kayak. It hasn't jumped like a bass. That's the only thing that's making me think maybe it's not, but I don't know. Big bass. Heavy, so much bigger than the other ones. Bubba, big Bubba bass. Oh, come on, come on. Don't break my heart. Ooh, we're high sticking at the end. Wow, that might be a 4-pound bass. I don't know, that's big. 3.5 all day. Pretty sweet. Just done that little stick out. I cast it shallow. I cast it a couple times deep, and I cast it one step shallow. That is a big smallmouth. Whoa. She's got some fight yet. She never jumped. That's why I didn't know if she was gonna be a bass or a walleye. All right, jig is out. That is a big old Bubba bass. Big Bubba's going back. There she goes. That was a little quicker than I expected. She was ready to rock. Okay, I'm gonna transition back to walleyes out deep. If I can get a couple more walleyes, and we'll be laughing. We came back to that hump we started at. This is not optimal fishing conditions, but back to where we started in that 12 to 15 foot range off the edge of the hump, and that's where we caught our couple small eyes. No bait. What? There's a fish. Oh, walleye number 5. Does that hurt anyone's bet in the other boat? There we go. Ooh. So if we catch this one, then I think Brannon loses the bet. There we go, I had to bow sling it. It sounds like Carson the intern won the bet now. Is that what happened? All right, I'm not sure. They didn't really tell me. I think they didn't want to hurt my feelings. All right, well, I think that's pretty much it for today. But the moral of the story is don't let gear hold you back. You know, it's easy to think, oh, once I have a big boat, then I'll go catch fish, or once I have live scope, then I'll catch fish. Man, I went on so many trips with my 12-foot tinner and a trolling motor on the back, and those are like some of my best memories. You know, in today's case, mapping on my phone helped me so much for, you know, picking a couple locations. Yeah, whether you're just using Google Maps, you know, something free to figure out some locations, figure out some points that stick out or some rock piles, or in this case today we're using the Active Captain app. You pay for the subscription, you get all sorts of maps across, you know, whatever region you're purchasing, right? But for me, that value is amazing because also if I'm not bringing a graph along, I'm just bringing my phone, I can bring that from boat to kayak, to in my vehicle if I'm driving on the ice road, on my snowmobile. So it's amazing to have that technology with you all the time. And you can find a lot of spots just based off of the map, and I think we showed it today. So anyways, make sure you're wearing your life jackets and get out fishing. Now we're done.